Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I know it's fashionable to do trailer reactions, usually on the day they come out, not like, some indeterminable amount of time later when it actually gets uploaded. But I wanted to do the Fantastic Four, and I'm doing it for this reason. I love the Fantastic Four. If you've listened to this channel for a length of time, you know I'm a big fan of that character, that those characters, sorry, that team, the different art styles. I think Kirby got a chance to really go nuts with a lot of the cosmic stuff on Fantastic Four. Yes, he'd done it in other places too, but it was just that the Fantastic Four was kind of the first biggest and coolest. Emphasis on the word biggest. And for me, coolest. I like the New Gods, but I like what he does on the Fantastic Four much more. It's just cool. And I like the Byrne era, and I like the Simonson era, and I like the Hickman era, although that's one that gets lauded a lot and is probably my least favorite of those of all those I mentioned. And then there's many in between. But I like Fantastic Four. I like the premise, and I like a lot of what those characters can do. So that's why I'll go through the trailer and kind of talk through what I saw, what I liked, what I have concerns about. Because the other thing, the elephant in the room is, it is in my mind, this is almost the big battle we've been leading up to because you had this industry for the last 6-8 years of people on YouTube and really kind of the tearing apart of a lot of films, and in some cases it's humorous like the pitch meetings and those or the honest trailers guy, and then it kind of evolved toward um more, let's say, homemade or homegrown. I don't know the best way to put this, but guys with a batch of toys behind them, kind of giving their reactions in a darkened studio, and they can make money doing that. So we've seen that whole era. But the big talking point has been Hollywood is super left wing. Newsflash, who knew? And they all hate you and this kind of stuff. And the MCU movies are MCU, and I like all that kind of nonsense. And then simultaneously, the MCU, Disney, fell into a bit of a malaise with the movies, and they had a bunch of things just not land. And then they tried to build up Kang the Conqueror as a big deal, and then he wasn't. And they had to get Robert Downey Jr. back, and it just kind of everything after the Avengers Endgame movie seemed to be not shooting on all cylinders, not firing on all cylinders. There just was always something that was kind of off. The Fantastic Four feels like a big movie to do something big and threatening. For what it's worth, by the way, before I get into there, the Thunderbolts film I think that one might be a bit of a sleeper hit in that it's doing one thing that we haven't seen in a Marvel movie. Now we'll see if they screw it up in some of the later trailers, but the Sentry, the Void, feels like a super threatening, effed up character and world ending kind of threat. And if you look at how a lot of the Marvel movies have gone, the world-ending threats have been slightly goofy or weird, or just it just hasn't been the same level of punch. If you look at kind of the big threat of the Marvels, it's like it was a plot from Spaceballs. If you look at Ant-Man, it was Kang, but it was kind of silly Kang, and there's been a bunch of these films, that are either smaller threats or they don't seem like shit. Things are really going to go to hell. The Thunderbolts actually kind of feels like there's a sense of desperation and we're all going to die here coming out of that film. That film may wind up being good. I'm interested to see it. But regardless, we're in the midst of kind of what feels like the end conflict. And Fantastic Four feels like the battle that is going to be drawn, one that has, been marked by a lot of skirmishes around, Snow White and princess things and other stuff. So this one feels like the battle will be waged. Will the MCU get their mojo back and actually have a big blockbuster smash hit? Because this film is the gateway to, Doom and Secret Wars and kind of all, like, this is the one that's really should knock it out of the park, from Disney's perspective. Now, will they accomplish it? So it's interesting to watch it. And as a Fantastic Four fan, I love the fact that the Fantastic Four may actually be, like, is this the team that's going to revive the Marvel Universe and really get it on the map? I mean, that would be awesome. That'd be poetic justice for me. So let me go through it. We've got a couple trailers out now, so I'll give you my reactions to the latest one, but I'll kind of blend the two together. Things I like, things that worry me. Okay, because like I've said in previous videos, I want this film to do better. I want this film to do great. I'm really hoping for a great movie, for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. But the MCU has put out enough stinkers, enough questionable films that I no longer am counting on the film being good. So rather than I expect it to be good, I hope it will be good, which is a drop, from where we've been. So, um, things I like. I like the 60s aesthetic a lot. I'm a fan of the Coen brothers. One of my favorite movies of all time, The Hudsucker Proxy. I love places that really dive into that. Slightly worried that Disney is going to cheapify the look and the vibe, but hopefully they really just kind of lean in and nail it. This is not the 60s as we knew. This is alternate Earth where the Fantastic Four have been kind of making these scientific announcements and inventions and doing great things and been kind of super popular heroes like the Beatles of superheroes. And they are, they've changed the world for the better. Reed has made for a more amazing, they're a celebrity family, but they've made a more amazing planet. And so I'm very interested. I like the aesthetic. I like the idea. I really like that the film appears to be fast forwarding through the origin, and or we're going to get it in kind of newsreel backstory. We're getting, frankly, the majority of the origin just in the trailer. I really like that because we're not going to see an hour leading up to the Fantastic Four going into space and like, oh my God, I'm on fire. I just that is tiresome. We've seen it a couple times before. We don't need to see it again. I like that we're cutting to the chase. I like that a lot. I like Sue Storm, Vanessa. I like the actress. She looks right. She looks slightly different from your typical kind of superhero actress. But I like it. I think the way she talks, the way she moves, the way she looks, it's a different kind of look for Sue Storm. Sue Storm being a major character in Marvel. I like that. I like the way the Thing looks. The Thing looks good. I think it's a lot of CGI certainly and everything else, but this is kind of a more comic booky view of the Thing. I like that. Even though I'm a purist, I like their movie costumes. They did a good job of kind of getting that 60s vibe and that aesthetic, but also not making it look too stupid. It doesn't look like it's an overly, Hollywood version of the costume. I'm good with the costume. Um, I like the music. I like the style. I like a lot of how this film is being packaged. Things I don't like. I don't like Pedro as Mr. Fantastic. I just don't. And I don't like Pedro as an actor. Frankly, it has nothing to do with whether he did or did not stand up for Gina Carano. I didn't like him on The Last of Us. I'm not a fan of the character. Didn't like him in the Wonder Woman movie. I just don't like it. I don't like the actor. Everybody has personal tastes. He's not for me. If you stan, Pedro, good for you. I'm not saying it like there's some definitive objective reason why you should hate this actor. I just personally don't like him. And I feel very similar about the character, the Johnny character, the actor playing that. Forget his name. It's just odd. I would have gone for something a little bit more slick. I don't know. Johnny, it's you're all gonna hate this, but there's just a little bit too much of like incest brother vibe I get off him. It's terrible to say, but we've seen very little of Johnny, so this one's a little bit unfair. But just what I've seen, I'm not that fond. So I like two of the Fantastic Four. I don't like two. I do wish that they were making a little bit more alteration to the Thing's voice. It sounds a little bit too much like you've got a normal actor talking for a CGI character. A little bit more gruffness or graveliness, I think would be good there. I don't like the female Silver Surfer. And I did a community post on this. Has nothing to do with being a woman, honestly. I have the same question a lot of you have. If we really wanted a woman to play a cosmic character like that, why not just do Frankie? Why not? There are those characters. I'm not sure why you would do it this way. But the big reason I don't like it is that the idea of the Silver Surfer, and several of you pointed out, it's like the Norrin Rad was obviously a man, had a male backstory, a Shallball, hooked up with Mantis. There's, and, horny for Alicia at one point. Definitely is a man. But when the character first appeared, a lot of how they were playing it was that this was this completely foreign, no ears, no genitalia, all silver, just otherworldly cosmic character that was here to tell you that the entire world was coming to an end and everything was fucked. And that it worked. I mean, it was a cool visual. It led to Galactus and kind of everything that happened there. I don't know. It was just amazing that they had that. And this character, the character has ears. Character has kind of flowing hair. It looks like a girl in silver paint versus an otherworldly type character. So I'm just not a fan. I feel the same if it was like they put Channing Tatum in silver and had him walking around with his dick hanging out or something. I'm like, I don't want to see. I like the and it's actually, and weirdly enough, if this makes any sense, it's less the boobs and that it's a woman than it's got ears and hair. It looks odd. So I'm just not a fan of that change. And for that matter, I'm not a big fan of the fact that, even though I said earlier, I'm glad that they're skipping the origin, getting right to the point. I do like that. Going immediately to Galactus is, I don't know. It seems like a villain you should build up to. I don't know. It's diving right in. Now, what I suspect is that that's intentional, that we are going to see either one of two things: either Fantastic Four fail in trying to stop Galactus and they get shunted to another reality, and that's how they wind up in the 616, or they do win, but it sparks an incursion or any number of things. They have hinted. Actually, I go back to some things I like. They've hinted that Galactus is there and the cosmic shit is there because Reed messed up and dug too deep into the reality in space, and that's how Galactus found them. I like the hubris of Reed Richards and kind of that mistake, creating extra guilt and everything on top. I like that element, and I do like the fact that they're going to have Sue be pregnant. This actually creates an interesting dynamic. It's the first sign that we're going to get Franklin out of this. So, I mean, there's just a bunch of good things I think that come of it. But I struggle with him going directly to Galactus, but I believe it's all designed to be a plot device, or because you got to do two things: you got to get them into the 616, and you also have to get them accelerated into the 2025 timeline. You got to move them forward in space. So we're getting some kind of shoved into another reality. We're also getting some kind of frozen in space and time and then awakened in our reality. We're getting another Captain America type thing. We're getting a couple things in this movie that are going to have to position them to be players in the Marvel universe as we know it, the MCU. Overall, visually, it doesn't look bad. There's some things that are kind of wacky. I mean, the Ben Grimm hauling a ship using a chain. Is he walking on water? Is Sue Storm creating an invisible platform under him? Like, how's that work exactly? Is he secretly like 500 feet tall? Like, there's some stuff in there that I'm like, all right, but again, I'm so fond of the visuals and kind of the style that I mean, stuff's weird and that's fine. I'll overlook that kind of thing. But in general, several of you are saying, "Oh, there's a lot of red flags about this movie." You're talking about Johnny Storm saying, "I can't, I won't be a horn dog," or the gender identity thing from Sue. This movie will succeed if it visually looks cool. It's stylistic. It doesn't get too, full of itself. Doesn't gaze at its own navel too much, and instead, it just tries to put out a slick, shining, fun adventure movie. And I see elements of that in the trailer. I think it could go there, or it's going to go into, too kitschy, too dumb, quippy humor. It could go either way. It sits at the precipice. I have not lost hope. I think there's still enough in here that makes me think that we might get a great movie out of this for Marvel. There are some elements here that could definitely, and the biggest element that could make it go sideways, frankly, is Marvel itself. Marvel has a track record, the MCU, of dumb humor, kind of silliness, taking away some of the big stakes and moments and making jokes out of it. If it does that, if it basically follows form of a lot of other things we've seen during the Phase 1 films, then yeah, it's gonna suck. Or at least, it'll underwhelm expectations. So I'm, again, need to see more. Haven't lost faith, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Cautiously, I won't even say cautiously optimistic, just cautious. But I'm gonna go see it. I'm excited to see it. I love the Fantastic Four, so of course I'm going to go see it, and I hope it does well. Anyway, there you go. There's my thoughts. Call me a shill. Thanks for listening.